Alright, so let's get into how the beef between Flame and Peaches almost got me locked up for 12 years. So, you know, how I do, just follow the story, man. So, this particular day, B88 Platinum, the rest of us, we was at a grand opening, for Farago, he was opening a cigar lounge, He already owned the club, so now he's opening a cigar lounge, so we all there, at the cigar lounge. Farago got back with the white lady he was dating, before. So, we watched them cut the ribbon, everybody clapping it up. So we get in the cigar lounge, we get into the cigar lounge that Farago now on. It's real sexy, lights, different color lights. TVs everywhere, showing sports games and hip-hop type TV shows and, music videos from like the 2000s and R&B, shit like that. Nice music playing, yeah, like, these fly-ass waitresses, serving drinks and taking orders for like, buffalo wings, shit like that, so shit was fire. So me, 88, and Platinum, we sitting in one of the spots, with cigars in our hand, I don't smoke and drink, but, I got the cigar in my hand, I'm thinking about lighting it, but I'm not, I ain't light it. But Platinum and 88, they smoking a cigar, we just chilling. And so, 88's, showing her phone, she looking, and she like, yo, what your boy, Flame and Peaches got going on? I'm like, what's up? She like, yeah, she said she think they beefing, like, they're going back and forth, they, dissing each other and shit, So I'm looking, and I'm kind of seeing them, going at each other online and whatever. I ain't think nothing of it. I'm like, well, I'll check Flame when I leave here, because I thought that was kind of strange that all of a sudden now, Peaches and Flame going at each other, And I was wondering why Flame wasn't here and why Peaches wasn't here, but from what, 88 is showing me, they now beefing online and shit. So cool, so we chill, about another hour or so. Me and Platinum, we leaving, 88 gonna stay, so, we can go to Farago, we can congratulate him. Let him, let him know this spot is fire, cigar lounge and shit. Alright, cool, so now, me and Platinum, we head over to where, Flame live, cause, Flame and Peaches is beefer. So we get the Flame house, Flame, he now explaining what's going on. He like, yeah, man, this bitch is crazy, She been calling me from a private number all day. I blocked this bitch. She keep calling me, she talking mad shit, fam. And, now she got this Montello nigga talking shit. So I'm like, what the fuck is Montello? And he was like, yeah, some nigga that was, that's supposedly cool with Show and G, cause him and Show and G was cool at the time. And, he just, talking shit online about, Flame and, So, somehow, Peaches and Montello are on live talking shit. So Flame like, yo, man, this nigga live right now. So now, Flame he goes on the live. So, he's waiting to get brought up on the live. So Peaches and Montello talking shit about Flame and all this. Now, mind you, the nigga, Flame already told us how she crazy, and, she just, talking mad shit. So Montello, I go into the live too, so I'm seeing Montello talking shit, and I see Peaches talking shit, so I typed in the chat, in the comment section, I'm like, yo, let Flame up. So, the nigga Montello like, man, fuck you, Tony, man, you don't tell me what to do with my shit, and you talking mad shit, but I ain't gonna type back and forth online, I don't do that online shit. I'm like, so eventually he lets Flame up, so now Flame And Montello arguing, so Flame like, yo, man, we could put the guns down and we could box it out. He was like, let's box it out then. He was like, you know, you talking all that shit. He said, I ain't gonna fight you over no bitch. But what you not gonna do, fam, is disrespect my motherfucking name or disrespect me like as a motherfucking man. You're not gonna disrespect me. So Flame like, let's just put the guns down. And let's pick up the gloves. Let's box it out. So, you know, Montello trying to talk shit like he a pimp. Like, oh, man. You know, she over here, she chose. And then, you know, Flame like, I don't give a fuck about that bitch. You know what I mean? Which I don't think none of us, you know disrespect the Peaches, but, you know, like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That bitch, you know, she gonna flip on you next. You know what I mean? That's just what Peaches does. Peaches is a little cuckoo, you know what I mean? So, he talking shit. He you know, he kicked Flame off the live. So now we still handle talk shit, and Peaches like, yeah, go, you know, Montello's like, yeah, go look at your car, because Peaches was there earlier. He was like, yeah, go look at the tires on your car. So we are like, what? So, you know, all three of us, you know, me, Platinum, Flame, we go downstairs. Two of the tires is flat. He was like, yo, this bitch done slashed my tires, you know what I mean? Because, you know, he said she was there earlier, and they got to an argument. He just went back in the house and closed the door. So I guess that's when, you know, Peaches slashed the tires. So we like, oh shit, this bitch is bugging out. She's on some motherfucking Fatal Attraction, Basic Instincts type shit. What the fuck? So, you know, we know Peaches is crazy, so he trying to get back on the live. He like, yo, let's just put the, you know, the guns down. Let's pick up the gloves. Let's box it out. You know, Montello talking shit, but the way Montello talking shit, I could tell he not like that. So, he still told shit about me and shit, and I don't even know this nigga. He's saying, fuck Tony, fuck you, and all that bitch ass nigga. I'm like, alright, you know, I'm more like, nigga, I see you when I see you. I ain't even saying that. I just said that to myself. So, Flame tight. So I'm like, damn, my nigga. I was like, so, me and Platinum was thinking about going out later that night to a strip club. So we like, yo, man, you want to roll to the strip club with us, man? He was like, nah, man. He was like, man, I'm so pissed off. He said, I ain't trying to, you know, be around nobody. I'm just gonna chill in the crib. And plus, you know, tires is flat. You know, he gonna call AAA or whatever and get his tires fixed. And, you know, he said he gonna chill in the crib that night. And, you know, he said, plus, you know, a 17 was playing out, and I forgot what team was playing. He said, I'ma just chill. So I'm like, alright, so me and Platinum, we dap Flame up. We like, yo, we holler at you. I'm like, yo, call me if anything, man. So me and Platinum, we leave. And then, you know, we went on the rest of the day chilling. And then later on that night, we going out to the strip club, you know what I mean? So, you know, later on that night, me and Platinum, we head over to Dallas Cabaret off, I think with Harry Hines or something like that, you know. But we went to the strip club called Dallas Cabaret or something like that, right? So we in there, we chilling, it's me, Platinum, and like two of my niggas from New York and shit, you know what I'm saying? So it's four of us, you know what I mean? We get in, you know what I mean? We chilling. Nah, man, so, you know, we chilling, and lo and behold, you know, while we in there, we see the Montello nigga, you know what I mean? He by himself and shit. So when we walked in, and it's four of us and just him, he looked like he seen a ghost. He like, oh. So I'm like, yeah. So that's when I walked up, and I just put my hand on his shoulder. I'm like, hey, what's going on, Montello? You know what I mean? I'm Tony, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, I just got here, but I'm gonna talk to you later, my nigga. So, you know, I just walked off, you know what I mean? Me, you know, so we chilling. You know, of course we got, you know, the girls bringing bottles over and all that, you know what I mean? We chilling. Strip club, you know what I mean? Platinum throwing money, you know, two of my niggas throwing money from New York. And I'm throwing money, you know, so we chill. So the Montello nigga, he, you know, he looking over at us the whole time, as you can tell, he nervous. But, I think he was waiting for some chick that worked there. I think she was a bottle girl, you know, serving bottles and shit. So, you know, we chilling. I could tell he about to get ready to leave because the girl that he was waiting on, she now got on sweatpants and sneakers and, she'd making her last rounds. So I told, one of my niggas, I said, go wait in the parking lot for this nigga in case he try to leave. So he's so busy looking at, me, he don't even see that one of my niggas went into the parking lot, of course, got to the car, got the strap just in case. So cool, so now he's waiting outside, so Montello, he's rushing to get up out of there with the chick, so him and the chick is leaving. So he rushing, so now he walking to his car, my nigga said, yo, my nigga, where the fuck you going, come in. So, that's when my man, you already called me on the Bluetooth. So now I come out. So now, Montello and the chick is standing there, and my nigga's standing there gripped up. So I walked up, I said, yo, my man, I was like, I don't know you like that. For you to be talking slick about me and all that, I said, yo, but this whole platinum and, I said, this whole Peaches and Flame situation, this situation between Flame and Peaches, you better fall the fuck back from this shit, my nigga. For real, and watch how the fuck you talk to a nigga like me, cause I don't take no disrespect. So that's when Montello like, nah. He was like, I ain't on it like that. I'm just, doing my podcast thing, man. I'm just trying to get my numbers up. If I would've knew who you was, I wasn't no, I thought you was just a regular, person in the comments. My bad, my nigga, my bad. I'm like, yeah, you sure? He like, yeah, I'm sure. So I'm like, alright, my nigga, we let the bitch ass nigga leave, so the nigga Montello and the chick, they get in the car, take off. Boom. So I ain't thinking nothing of it. I'm thinking it's squashed from there. Now mind you, like I said, Montello and Sean G, they cool at this time. But I don't give a fuck about no shit. Like I said, I've had one-ins with Sean Z too, but I ain't thinking about it, you know what I'm saying? So maybe about 2 days later, I get a phone call. Phone ring, it's private call. I'm like, and you know how most black people, they don't answer private calls because they're like, oh, I don't answer. But me, I always answer private calls because you never know if a motherfucker got your mama or something tied up and you sitting there, as a dumb nigga looking at the phone like, oh, it's private call and I ain't want to answer it. And that could be your mama, tied the fuck up with a gun in her head and you talking about, so I always answer, I don't give a fuck who, because if you don't want the call, just hang up and so I'm like, hello? So some nigga on the phone like, yeah, long time, no hear from him, man. You talking shit. I'm like, so I'm trying to make out the voice. He was like, I'm like, who this? He was like, oh, you don't remember me, man, He was like, you talk a lot of shit about me and, we had our back and forth, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to make out the voice. I'm like, Sean G. So, he started laughing and shit. So he talking shit. So I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, yeah, he was like, I thought you supposed to be out by now. I was like, you're still locked up when you out. He's like, well, I'd rather not say, you know what I mean? I like to pop up on niggas like Suge Knight. I said, like Suge Knight, huh? I said, well, I'm more like Chaz Williams, my nigga. He said, Chaz Williams, who's that? I said, well, and I said, do your research. I'm pretty sure whether you home or in jail, you got access. You got access to Google, nigga. Look up Chaz Williams, nigga. I'm more like Chaz Williams, nigga, out, So that Suge Knight shit don't mean a motherfucking thing to me, nigga. So basically to the niggas, and to the people listening, Chaz Williams was a, the gangster nigga from New York City, from Queens, who used to rob banks, but he also, he don't take shit from nobody, He don't give a fuck who you is, I remember what Chaz Williams once said, he don't give a fuck if the police come around extorting, If the police come around extorting, you treat them like you treat anybody else, So I don't give a fuck about that Suge Knight shit, nigga, So we going back and forth. So the nigga, Sean Z like, yeah, I'm just calling on behalf of Montello, that's my nigga, what I'm saying? That's my homie, no, he said that's my partner, cause that's how they talk in Dallas. He's like, that's my partner, I'm calling and, see what's up on behalf of my partner, Montello, my nigga, that's my partner or whatever. So he talking shit. So next thing you know, our operator, clicks and then I hear, this call is from a federal prison. So I'm like, oh. So the whole time I'm thinking he might be home. He's like, but when I heard the operator say this call's from a federal prison, I'm thinking, this nigga trying to set me up and get me to talk crazy over the phone to him. So, before I could talk my shit, I heard that and then I just hung up the phone. Like, fuck up out of here. Cool. So now, I get a call from Rain saying, yo, we're gonna be over at Club 1919, you know what I mean? I think that's what it was called, or Club 1919, some shit like that. He said, we're gonna be at that club, I want you to come through, you know what I mean? Make an appearance, you know what I mean? And show love, you know what I mean? So he called me, and he called 88. He wanted us to come through, you know what I mean? Make an appearance and pop out or whatever. He wanted me, ever since I was in the magazine and shit. You know what I mean? And was getting love from the bitches. He was like, yeah, just come through, come through. So I'm like, alright, cool. So later on that night, you know what I mean? 88 calls me on three-way with Farrago on the phone. That Farrago been drinking. I guess he's been arguing with, his girl back and forth, some white girl. He was arguing. I think she was mad at Farrago because she thought that maybe Farrago was messing with one of the waitress at the new cigar lounge that he owned. So he's been drinking and shit. So now, 88 called me like, yo, Tony, he was like, Dad's tripping. He was like, my father's tripping, thinking that something gonna happen at the club tonight, So I'm like, nah, it's all good, Farrago, I'ma be there. He was like, so what? And then that's when 88 was like, you tripping, Pops, you tripping. He was like, that, Tony gonna be there, Rain gonna be there. It's security at the club. And then that's when Farrago said security don't mean shit. He was like, hell, Tupac has security. He said Biggie has security. What the fuck that mean? You know what I mean? Security can't stop a stray bullet. You know what I mean? Like Farrago was just bugging. But I think it was mostly because he was arguing with his girl. So he was like, yo, plus, I'm hearing shit about Rain. People talking shit. A lot of people want to get at Rain and y'all fucking with this nigga. He just tripping. So I'm like, nah, Farrago, it's all good, man. You know what I mean? 88 good. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'ma be there. She gonna be alright. So he like, yo, man. So, he's drinking and he's like, yo, play pussy, get fucked. He was like, I'm telling y'all. He was like, play pussy, get fucked. He said, Tony, I'm telling you, if anything happened to my motherfucking daughter, nigga, he said, I'm gonna show you something you've never seen, man. Low-key threatened me, but, I know how Farrago is. I'm like, nah, it's good, man. Ain't nothing gonna happen. He was like, man, I just got this feeling something happening. I'm hearing things. And he was like, yo, man. He was like, my fucking daughter. He said, nobody better not touch a hair on my fucking daughter's head, man. I'm telling you, he's bugging. So I'm like, alright. So I get off the phone, 88, she stayed talking to her father, so I'm getting ready. So now I'm hitting up the rest of the crew to see if they want to go. Flame said, nah, he don't want to go. He said he's going. He said his wifey, cause they was beefing. When he got with Peaches, he was on break from his girl. He said his girl is coming over today. And they gonna talk things out, so he said he gonna chill with the wifey today. So Flame ain't going. Platinum said he ain't going because, he got him a little something coming through, a little cutie, with a big ass booty coming over. So I'm like, alright. So, fuck it, everybody was busy on this particular day. And plus Farrago was like, man, he ain't want me all 88 to go, especially 88. But 88 and Debbie, they on their way to the club. I'm on my way there because I'm going to make an appearance, get my load, stack with 2 stacks from Rain, get on the mic a few times, and I'm going to dip up out of there. So cool. So, I get there, 88 pull up, I park my car up. Now, I took, usually, when I show up to the club, I show up maybe in like a Corvette, Lamborghini, I was low-key this night because I wanted to get in, get out. So, I had a Dodge Charger. And, I pulled up in the Dodge Charger. And the reason I liked the Dodge Charger, it was more low-key. I could blend in. Plus, I had a stash box in the Dodge Charger. So, I took my gun, put it in the stash box. I had a code on my phone where I put a certain code in. The stash box drops out. So I put the gun in. Boom. So I'm like, I'm just gonna run in there, stay for about a half hour, try to get my money, dip out. So me and 88 go in, and I stash the gun in the car. I go in, you know what I mean? I already got like this little knife thing in my hand to where if you look at my two middle fingers, it looks like I got two rings on. But it's really like a knife once I push the button. About a 6-inch blade pop out. So I had that look like I got two rings on my middle finger. I ain't even had no jewelry on this particular day. So I go in, get patted down, boom, boom, boom. I kind of knew the security, so, they was kind of lax. They pat me down, boom, boom, boom. So like I said, I got the two, rings on my finger, but it's really a knife in my right hand. So I go in there, show love to Rain. Nah, I mean, 88 in there, so we chillin'. I get on the mic, introduce myself, shouting, shout the club out and certain people out that Rain wanted me to shout out, so I'm looking at the paper and shouting people out. The girl's going crazy trying to get my attention and shit, but I ain't really thinking about that tonight because I'm trying to get in and get out. Plus 88 said she wasn't going to stay long, she just wanted to get in and get out because she had her man back at the house, Chance, he was back at the house, and Chance was even bugging to my man, I shouldn't go out if all is right, and usually Chance don't even agree with Farago. He was like, man, something gonna happen, that nigga Rain, y'all talking shit. So we ain't thinking nothing of it. So now I'm in the club. So mind you, I'm by myself. So, I'm by myself. I see this nigga Montello. He was some nigga. You know what I mean? So I ain't think nothing of it, you know what I mean? Because I know Montello said he ain't on it like that. I ain't even think about the Sean G call. So, I later found out that this nigga he with is an Sean G homeboy. And it's also cool with Montello, you know what I mean? Some nigga named Jermaine, so I ain't thinking about nothing of it. You know what I mean? Jermaine was like a tall nigga. You know what I mean? He kind of looked like a young version of Alonzo Mourning, you know what I mean? Because he used to play ball, lift weights. You know what I mean? So he was in pretty good shape, you know what I mean? He had the biceps, the big shoulders, tall nigga. So I ain't think nothing of it. So I get my bread from Rain. Rain said he was dipping out. So once Rain dipped out, I'm like, yo, I'll go to AD. I said, yo, Rain already left. She said, what? I'm like, yeah. So I was like, I'm leaving all here. He gave me my little stack or two. I'm like, I'm out. So ADA was like, she about to leave too. Debbie wanted to stay. So that's when Farago, was, I guess he was on Bluetooth for 88. He like, fuck it, leave her. He was like, fuck it, leave her. You know what I mean? You just get out of there. So 88 said, well, she gonna let Debbie know she leaving. I'm like, alright, I wait outside. So I'm outside leaning on my car, the Dodge Charger. The gun's inside in the stash box. So, but I still got like the knife in my hand and shit with the two rings. So I'm sitting there. This girl come over, you know what I mean? She, try to talk to me. So I'm talking to her. Talking to the girl, 88 come out. She talking to Debbie, smoking a cigarette. So I'm talking. So the nigga that was with Montello, he comes outside. So I'm sitting on my car, leaning on my car, whatever. So he come up, he like, yo, man, you Tony? I'm like, yeah, what's up? So he was like, yeah, man, he talking shit like, he was like, yeah, my man don't appreciate you hanging up the phone on him that you talking about Sean Z. He was like, yeah, I'm so-and-so, I claim this, I claim that. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, he was like, nah, and he was like, nah, no, let's talk man to man, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't, like I said, I'm leaning, so I'm like, so in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, this nigga gonna let me stand up. So I'm like, oh, even though he was taller than me, he didn't know I had that shit in my hand, so I'm like, so the girl, she backs off, so now me and the nigga talking. So as we talking, I look, out the corner of my eye, I see this bitch ass nigga Montello got a camera roll, he got his phone out, he's recording. So in the back of my head, I'm like, oh shit, these niggas trying to world star me. You know what I mean? These niggas trying to get me on camera, in an awkward position or some type of shit. And they, basically trying to world star me. So I'm like, oh. So as he talking shit, I keep glancing over and looking at Montello, me like a bitch with his phone out recording. So this nigga, Jermaine, that's trying to, take up for like, Sean G. This nigga takes a sling at me. I'm like, oh, so when he swung, I moved my head and he threw a punch so hard that I felt the fucking wind go past my face. And I could hear it go poof, poof, like, when he threw, I heard the gush of wind past my ear. I'm like, oh shit. So now, me tussling, like I said, this nigga Jermaine was a big, strong nigga. So he got me, by the shirt collar. Damn, they got me off my feet holding me. So I flicked the knife and I just started poking his shoulder. So I guess he's thinking I'm hitting him, and he's trying to hit me with his right hand, but I'm blocking it. But I kept poking his shoulder, poking his. I'm poking his shoulder mad, times. But he thinking I'm just, punching him until he saw the blood on his shirt. He like, oh, so he let me go. So now he stunned me like, oh, this nigga, he was like, you stabbed me. So he looked at his shirt. He like, oh, so he holding his shoulder. He's like, yo, this motherfucker stabbed me. So that's when, he goes in his pocket, and pulls out a knife. So now we knife and knife and shit. We knife and knife. But his left arm, he can't move that left arm because I poked him mad times in his shoulder. So his arm is like just hanging. All he got is his right. So he trying to swing the knife and shit. So we tussling. He caught me in my hand at the time, but I didn't know he caught me in my hand. He swiped me good on my hand. Boom. So now we tussling. This tall doofy nigga drops his knife. So now we tussling. I'm poking him up on the side, poking him up on the side, poking him. You know what I mean? We four. I poke him up some more. Poke him. So now he's screaming. This nigga Montello now puts the phone down and he runs over. So I'm like, what's up? So I get up. I'm like, what's up? I got the knife in my hand. He backed the fuck up. Montello backed up. Cause I'm like, what the fuck? So, nigga Montello back up. So that's when I walked over to where the guy was. I picked his knife up. So now I got his knife and my knife in my hand. So the guy's still laying there like, yo, I can't feel my arm. He's screaming in pain, but Montello ain't running up. So that's when I went to my car. The 88 got in her car. So I took off. So 88's following me. So boom. So we pull up to a gas station that wasn't that far away, probably like a mile or something like that. So boom, we pull into into this gas station parking lot. We pull up. I'm like, yo. So I hop out and I'm explaining to 88. She was like, yo, I seen that shit. What the fuck? I'm like, yeah, this motherfucker tried to punch me in my face. I was like, yo, I'm talking to this nigga, having a man-to-man conversation. This nigga tried to punch me in my motherfucking face. And I was like, I poked the shit out of him. And I was like, and I showed her how I had my knife. And I got his. I was like, but something told me to get rid of the knives, but I don't know. I just couldn't get rid of the knives. So I just took both knives, his and mine, put it in my pocket. So as we talking, police pull up. They like, freeze. They got their guns out. They freeze. Put your hands up. So I put my hands up. They telling 88, get back. You know what I mean? She was like, yo, he ain't do nothing. She was like, get back. So the nigga Montello gets out the back. So he was like, yeah, that's him. Like a little bitch. He like, that's him right there. Cause, later on I'm explaining what happened. Cause they played footage later on, in court. So we'll get into that later. So Montello get out. He like, yeah, that's him. That's the one that stabbed him up, my partner. That's him. So, they handcuffing me. They telling 88, get back. They telling 88, get back. They pushing her back. So they handcuff me. They find the two knives on me. So, so I'm like, yo. So I told the cop, yo, just give my phone to 88. You know what I mean? I was like, give my phone to my girl or whatever, cause I lied and said that was my girl just so, so I'm like, nah, just give my phone to my girl. So I was like, I don't know nobody number by heart, At least it's where I could call my phone, she can answer. I was like, come on, I ain't resisting nothing, man. So that's when the cop said, all right. So he took the two knives from me, and he took my phone, cause I'm handcuffed at this time. And he gives my phone to 88. So, the whole time, Montello, like, that's him, he, like, screaming, but I'm calm, you know what I mean? I'm like, whatever, what I'm saying? I ain't saying nothing, you know what I'm saying? We let the lawyer talk for you, I ain't saying nothing. So Montello going crazy. He's screaming and howling. The other cop trying to calm Montello down. I'm in the cuffs. So, so the guy was like, I got you. He was like, hold on, let me just. So he took the knives from me, and he took my phone from me. Put me in the back seat, and he goes up to 88, and he gives, my phone to 88. So I'm like, what about my car? So he was like that, we're gonna tow it. So I'm like, damn, man. He was like, yeah, he was like, we're gonna tow it. He said, oh, we could just leave it here in the parking lot. There's a chance, it might break it in. So I'm like, fuck. So they towed the car, so, you know what I mean? So they locked me up. 88 got my phone. I'm gonna call 88 later. This bitch ass nigga Montello, you know what I mean? the more cops came, and I guess he gave a statement to the cops, and the dude, he went on to the ambulance. So now, they take me to the precinct, they got me in the interrogation room. So they asked me what happened, they asked me what happened. I'm like, well, I like to exercise my right to speak to a lawyer. So that's when, cause at this point, there's two detectives, the cops that arrested me, they gone. They was uniform police, they gone. Now there's two detectives in like suits and shit, So, the cop, the white cop, he pressed record. He gives a date and a time. And he was like, yeah, we speaking to, he says my real name. And then he was like, he said what happened. So I'm like, well, I like to exercise my right to speak to an attorney. That cop, he pressed stop on the record. He was like, oh yeah? He was like, oh, we got us a smart one here. He said, you know what? He tells his partner, he said, drop all the charges on the other guy and charge this guy here with attempted murder. That's what he said to me. Alright, now, even though I kept a straight face and a cool demeanor, my heart sank. I'm like, oh, fuck. So now they gonna charge me with attempted murder, right? And drop all the charges on this bitch-ass nigga Jermaine, right? Plus they got Montello and, giving a statement on me. Fucking faggot. So anyway, they locked me up. Boom. So eventually they let me, make a call. So I call 88, cause I didn't know she got my cell phone. I call her. I'm like, yo, man, these motherfuckers trying to charge me with attempted murder. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah. So eventually, they give me bail. We trying to make bail and shit, Now, 88, Farrago, Platinum and Flame, they trying to, bail me out. But the bondsman said, nah, we want equity, we don't want cash, because a lot of people have been running off, So they was like, nah, we want equity, we want equity. So I sat in jail, for the first 2 days, cause they didn't want cash, they wanted equity. So I called 88, I'm like, yo, get in contact with Dr. Shelley, Go through my contacts and get in contact with Dr. Shelley. She's like, well, Dr. Shelley. I said, I'll explain later. This call on three-way, so 88 calls Dr. Shelley on three-way, and Dr. Shelley like, hey, you how you been? I ain't speak to you in a long time, stranger. I'm like, yeah, cause Dr. Shelley, is a white woman. So I'm like, yeah, not too good. So I explained the situation. And I'm like, they want, equity or whatever. Now the reason I called Dr. Shelley, cause all my cars and, my condo is in Dr. Shelley's name, And, I'm explaining how I met Dr. Shelley. So I'm like, yes, so I'm trying to make bail. So she's like, okay, so 88, I introduced her to 88, and, so she told 88 she gonna make sure everything, is good, with her business is she gonna come down on the next flight out, cause Dr. Shelley, is a chiropractor, and she, got her own practice in Miami, Florida. So she said, I'm gonna come down there, and I'm gonna make sure everything's good here, then I'm flying out, so cool. So I had to sit in jail for like another 2 days, So I was in jail for like a total 4 days, so Dr. Shelley, she flies in 88 picks up from the airport, and, Dr. Shelley, she arrives, tracksuit, hat pulled low, so 88, shocked to see this, this real slim white lady, white girl coming. So, 88's driving her, to like her hotel, and she's like asking Dr. Shelley, how did you meet Tony or whatever? So Dr. Shelley just started laughing and was like, she said, I'm gonna let Tony explain that when we get him out or whatever. So 88 like, alright, so cool. So eventually, once Dr. Shelley showed up, showed her credentials, and put up like a property or whatever, they let me out, boom, so I get out, So 88's there, Dr. Shelley's there. So boom, so I'm kissing Dr. Shelley all in the mouth, grabbing her ass, So 88's looking like, so I'm like, damn, so now we trying to get my car, so now we calling around to get my car, whatever, boom, boom, boom. So eventually we locate the car, we get the car, like I said, all my cars and shit is in Dr. Shelley's name. So, they get the car. So now, I told 88, yo, we gonna meet you at Farago's Cigar Lounge, you know what I mean? After, after I go freshen up or whatever, because I've been in jail for 4 days and shit. So she like, alright. So me and Dr. Shelley get in the car. So when I pulled off, I put the code in my phone, because now I got my phone back from 88. I put my code in my phone. The stash spot's dropped. The gun is still there. So I'm like, alright, cool. Dr. Shelley, she's chill. She's seen it. She ain't think nothing of it. So boom, we go back, to where, Dr. Shelley was staying at the hotel. I didn't even go to the condo. Cause Farago told me prior, he was like, yo, I'm hearing they trying to, do an ambush on you at your spot. He was like, don't go to the, the condo, just, lay low. So cool. So I go over to where Dr. Shelley at, hotel room. We get it in, we get it popping, sex, whatever, boom, boom, boom. So now later on, we get dressed, we go to the cigar lounge. So now we chilling at the cigar lounge, me, Dr. Shelley, 88, Farago, I hug Farago, handshake, So I'm explaining to Dr. Shelley what happened, as far as the fight and shit. I'm like, yo, this motherfucker tried to punch me in my face, da-da-da-da-da. So she's, and then so now 88 was like, how did y'all meet? So that's when me and Dr. Shelley, we laughing, hold hands and shit, because 88 trying to figure out how the hell this hood nigga get with this white girl, So I'm like, well, back when I, was doing porn and, was, running around with Cassie, banging her out in front of Diddy, shit like that. So, how me and Dr. Shelley met, every year, a lot of swingers and porn stars, and the horny white girls and shit would go down to Jamaica at a certain time, for hedoism in Jamaica. So, my nigga Rome Major, shout out to Rome Major, he put me on to that, how, there's a lot of freaky white girls and shit, and black women that go down to Jamaica and they like to get fucked by like male strippers, male porn stars. So I went down there, being that I was active in porn at the time. Me and Rome Major got with this one white girl, and her friend was Dr. Shelley, and that's how me and Dr. Shelley got together. Started messing around, fucking and shit like that, and we became cool to where she started leasing my cars and financing my cars and, my condo and shit. So me and Dr. Shelley became real tight, cause she loved, like I said, at the time she loved having sex, with a black man and, shit like that. And we just became cool, real tight, and I will always call her only if it was like real serious. So I explained that to 88, that's how we met, that's how we got it in, So she like, oh, okay. So, so I text, so as, we chilling, I text Dr. Shelley, like, yo, meet me in the bathroom, So, so Dr. Shelley goes in the back, go in the bathroom. So I told 88, excuse me. So I go in the back. So now me and Dr. Shelley in the bathroom, I bend over on the sink. I'm pounding that pussy out, because I ain't see Dr. Shelley, in a minute. So I'm hitting that shit from the back, boom, boom, boom. Cream pie her ass, bust all in her, boom. So now we come back, we chilling for the rest of it, So now, not only I got the lawyer on deck from Farago, now Dr. Shelley lawyer's involved. So, why they, try to get a court date, Farago said, yeah, man, I think you should lay low and get out of Dallas because, he keep hearing that the dude that I stabbed up is trying to ambush me. He don't know where, but he said he just keep hearing, and he was like, he don't want me to get caught up in no bullshit, plus with this court case going on, he said, I think you should lay low. So, he said, I think you should go back to Miami, with, Shelley or whatever, and lay low, cool. So now I fly out, to Miami with Dr. Shelley. 88, she checks in on my condo ever so often. And sure enough, they said that, the dude Jermaine, even though he, his left arm was fucked up, he couldn't move his left arm and shit because he had nerve damage from when I stabbed him, he would wait outside, for me, where, I would hustle with Platinum and Flame and all of that. He would wait there every day, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Looking for me, but I'm in, Miami, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to get in trouble before, the trial starts. So now I got, Farago's lawyer and Dr. Shelley's lawyer, negotiating, a court date. So now we get a court date from a year from now. So fuck, alright, cool. So now I'm in Miami just laying low until the court date. So now, me and Dr. Shelley, we back messing around. I'm staying with her at her condo, we having sex, all that shit. But, she would go off to work, because like I said, she had her own practice in Miami, so she would go off to work. And I would sit bored, in the house, and one day, I was strolling through YouTube, and I guess, being that I'm more in Dr. Shelley's account, of course, there's a lot of chiropractor stuff, you know what I mean? Or, that I guess, being that, because she's a chiropractor, I come across this black dude that's a chiropractor on YouTube named Dr. Clerge. Dr. Clerge. I think his name was Dr. Nestle Clerge. And I'm looking, at one of his videos. It's Dr. Clerge, and he's adjusting this thick-ass black chick. She thick as a motherfucker. He's adjusting her. She got on spandex and shit. He's adjusting her. So I'm looking at him do the, So I'm like, damn, he had a couple of women on his YouTube channel. Even his wife is thick as hell, big-ass booty and shit. And he's adjusting them. But the girls, they got on like spandex and sports bras. So I'm like, yo, that'd be dope if Dr. Shelley do that. So Dr. Shelley come home one day. I'm telling her, like, yo, you should do something like this. So I show her Dr. Clerge. So she's seeing the black woman, with the spandex. And I'm like, you should do something like that to where, you adjust your friends here at your condo in the living room. I said, that'd be dope, you know what I mean? Because, you got the white girls dressed in the spandex and the sports bra. I was like, what, even more better if you dress up in the spandex and sports bra while you adjusting them. At first, she laughed, but with much convincing. I'm convincing that she like, okay. She said she'd give it a try. And so, she invites one of her, friends over, white girl. They both got on like spandex sports bras. I'm filming them. And she adjusted them. Video takes off. So now, I'm filming, every day, every weekend I'm filming. Dr. Shelley adjusts, her friends, they got on sports bras and, the spandex pants, you know what I mean? You can look up, the videos are still up, Dr. Shelley on YouTube, right? So I'm having fun doing that, you know what I mean? Not only I'm running around with Dr. Shelley in Miami, we doing our thing, having lots of sex and shit. But now, I'm finding love behind the camera because now I'm filming her doing her thing. So, of course, when you're having fun, time flies. So now it's time to go back to, Dallas and start this trial. So, Dr. Shelley flies back with me. And, we start trial. So now this motherfucking Jermaine, he's trying to sue for all kinds of money, you know what I mean? Because he's trying to get SSI and shit. You know what I mean? He's saying how he can't, he can't move his arm, so he can't play ball no more. He can't work out no more. So now he done gained all his weight. He got fat. He's depressed. So at first, what I mean? I'm like, damn, I'm nervous as fuck, because now, not only this bitch-ass nigga Jermaine take the stand, this nigga, Montello takes the stand, you know what I mean? So Farago's telling me, so the whole week and stuff, for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the prosecution, they just burying me, trying to make it seem like I'm just an animal, like I just stabbed this nigga up for no reason and shit. But I can't say nothing because, I live by the code of the streets, but the whole time, I'm like, damn, man. But he like, Farago like, yo, just stay calm, you know what I mean? He was like, cause prior to the trial, he was like, trust me, when the judge and the jurors see these bum-ass niggas come to court, they're gonna find you not guilty, trust me. Cause, I'm wearing suits and shit, I'm wearing suits, Platinum and Flame wearing suits, Dr. Shelley's, dressed up, 88's dressed up, and plus, me wearing a suit every day and holding hands with this white woman walking in and out of court, and I got 2 lawyers, 2 Jewish lawyers, Dr. Shelley's and Farago's. You know, we had a pretty good defense. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you, by me holding both knives saved me too, but we're gonna get into that later. So after they showed, you know, his injuries, I stabbed him up. They got the body cam footage for the cops and see this bitch ass nigga. Montello running around talking about he went this way, he went that way, you know what I mean? You know, snitching and shit, right? Boom. So now, you know, we had like lunch date, we break for lunch. So as we sitting and eating, it's me, 88, Dr. Shelley, you know, Platinum Flame. And, you know, Platinum was like, yo, man, he was like, you see the injuries on that boy. He was like, you stabbed that boy up good. He said, from now on, I'm gonna call you Arnold Scarza, nigga. Arnold Scarza, nigga. Dr. Shelley started laughing. I started laughing. We like, oh, shit. So now it's a defense term. You know, speed it up. So now it's defense term. So, you know, of course, Dr. Shelley, you know, she takes a stand on my behalf, you know what I mean? Telling them how, you know, I work for her, you know, we do YouTube videos, you know, she showed on the YouTube videos that got a bunch of views of how I'm the cameraman for that. You know what I mean? Plus, you know, Platinum take the stand, you know, he's an artist. We showed, you know, a couple music videos. And then boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? So now they cross-examine. So, somehow, you know, we get the footage from the club, you know, because Farago knew the owner or whatever. You know, Ray knew the owner. So they asked the guy, they asked Jermaine on the oath, did you throw the first punch? He said, oh, I can't recall. So when they showed the footage, he threw the first punch. The lawyer also was like, yo, how did your fingerprints get on one of the knives? And then he said, oh yeah, I had a knife. So it's like, oh, so now, you know, the lawyer doing his thing, so now only his fingerprints is on a knife. He failed to tell him that he had a knife, plus he threw the first punch. It was a wrap. So, you know, but still, you just never know how, you know. So, somehow, you know, time goes on. So now, you know, we come to court. I'm nervous as hell, my heart beating like I was smoking crack in my heart beating. So they said, where the jury find the defendant not guilty on all charges. You know, everybody, you know. So, you know, Dr. Shelley, like, yes, 88, like, so they hugging each other. So the judge, like, order. So, you know what I mean, they found me not guilty. So now, you know, bitch ass niggas, you know, Jermaine and Montello, they mad, they storm out. So, you know what I mean, so, you know, not guilty, so now we leaving. So now, Fuago said, yo, he was like, so now I'm like, yeah, I can go home. Fuago like, nah, he was like, he's still him and it's gonna be an ambush. He said, you go back to Miami, lay low for at least another 2 months. Then you can't sound like fuck, so I ain't even get to go to my condo. So now I get back on a flight. We Dr. Shelley, we go to Miami. So now, the nigga, Jermaine, really after me. So now the nigga Jermaine's really after me, but I guess he grew frustrated being that he couldn't find me because I'm not in Dallas, I'm in Miami. He grew frustrated, so this nigga Jermaine one day gets into an argument with some nigga at a liquor store because he started drinking heavily because he was depressed. He had all the scars on his body, and like I said, he got fat. He got nerve damage in his left arm. He couldn't move his left arm no more. So, you know, he gets into an argument with a nigga at a liquor store. He pulls out a gun. He shoots and missed the nigga and hit an innocent migrant in the head, killed the migrant. So now, you know, he's ducking and running from the police. Say, catch up to him. He draws his weapon at the police. They light him up. 50 or 60 shots. Kill him dead, you know what I mean? They call it suicide by a cop. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I guess, you know, he wanted to die because he kept telling people how, you know, he was depressed because he gained all this weight. He got all these scars on his body. So I guess that was the way to get taken out of his misery. And, you know, after a while, I came back to Dallas and, you know, got back to doing my thing for his Montello. You know, he's still a bitch, you know what I mean? He ain't doing much. He's still on the internet running his mouth like a little bitch. The nigga Jermaine, of course, died, you know, because of the police. May he rest in piss and shit. Fuck that faggot. And, you know, me and Dr. Shelley, you know, we fucked around and chilled, you know what I mean? And was doing our thing until I got locked up. Now, Dr. Shelley recently got married. You know what I mean, to a white guy. Salute to her. Shout out to her, you know. Spoke to her not too long ago. And, you know, That was just a crazy time, man, and that's how I almost got 12 years. Fucking around with the beef between Flame and Peaches, you know what I mean?